Joining us now to talk a little bit more about how preparedness can really make a big difference for you in a disaster is Matt Payne. He is the Executive Director of MinuteMan Disaster Response. Matt, thanks for joining us today. Now, you have seen many disasters and you've responded to many disasters. What do you think is the difference, and what kinds of differences do you see in when you're responding to a disaster for people who've kind of been prepared or people who have not been prepared at all?
We've been to countless disasters serving communities and families that have been impacted. And I think sometimes we live in a particular region for a period of time, we become comfortable, maybe even complacent. I think it's important, though, for families, especially this time of year as we're going into the severe weather season, that we're weather aware, that we're paying attention to what's going on around us. What's the forecast? What's on the WeatherNation app, and how do we begin to prepare for that day?
Even some simple things can make a big difference when becoming prepared for severe weather. And Matt, I believe you have a few items to show us that can make that difference for us.
We need to have something prepared. We need to have a plan. We need to know where we're going to go. For tornadoes, we want to be in the innermost room on that lower level, get as many walls between us and the outside. Then it's a good idea just to have a small little kit of emergency supplies. So when you take your family in there, you have the supplies that you need to care for them. I always recommend some sort of a helmet to protect our head for any type of debris that might be flying around. Let's put our shoes on us, our kids, so that way if there is damage to our home, at least we've got something to protect our feet. Of course, a basic first aid kit so you can take care of your family, take care of your neighbors. It may be a while before first responders can get to you. Of course, a flashlight. And if we're going to have a flashlight, then we want to make sure we have extra batteries to take care of that flashlight. Glow sticks are a great way to help people find you. Break these open. They put off a nice light. People can see where you're at. A whistle is another great thing to have in your kit. And the last thing that I have in my kit is a radio. Should the power go out in my home, I have a way to be able to hear what's going on.
I really like how you have a small bag that is very accessible and you can grab it, you can move it to whatever location you go to. Now, Matt, when you and your volunteers respond to a disaster, you folks have prepared, you have practiced, you don't just show up and say, hey, let's start to doing something. How can people mentally prepare themselves for something like a tornado or severe weather hitting their house?
We're all familiar with what disasters do. So just knowing that that potential is there and realizing that maybe to this point it hasn't impacted us, but today could be that day. If you have that plan in place, that's going to help us also to bring down any type of anxiety when the time comes that we need to act, because we've already thought through how to prepare.
I just have one more question for you, Matt. What is the one thing, if you could only say one thing to people that they should do?
Heed the warning. Heed the warning. If you hear your storm sirens going off in your area, if you've been notified, take those precautions, heed the warning, and listen to the advice that you're being given. Maybe you're not going to be impacted, but this could be that one time. So heed the warning.
That is some great advice, because people often don't listen to those warnings when they're coming, and boy, that can make all the difference. Matt Payne with MinuteMan Disaster Response, thanks for joining us. You had some great ideas today. I hope you're safe out there, and hopefully you and your volunteers are not all that busy this year.